Hey everybody, Adam Scott here, head GM and founder of RPG Club. If you want to know what we're all about in terms of what we do, we've run games for over 6,000 players, and we've run 15,000 professional RPG sessions. But if you want to know more, check the link in our bio, and that's not really why we're here today, but we want to talk about something that I get a question about all the time, and it's what does it take to be a professional GM? Like, what do you have to do to be a professional game master? And this is something that we've done a lot. And it's something I get in my DMs every day. It's something over at my Instagram I get questions on every day. And so I think it's important to be able to come on here and say, here's what you have to do to be able to be a professional GM. Here's what it takes to be a professional GM. And like, what the heck does that actually mean? So when you're a professional GM, the thing that is most important, the thing that you have to do, and the thing that I answer this question a lot, and I think this is, for whatever reason, it's taken as something that's surprising to people. And being a professional GM requires work. It is something that is a job. It is something where you're serving somebody, you're doing something for someone, and you are there to support them in their interest in what they're trying to do. So we have to have that mindset when we're trying to become someone who is working as a professional GM in that professional space. So most of our games, all of our games we've run online, or at least we run online now. We started off running in person and we moved online over the last several years. So in the online space, as a professional GM, there are things that you have to do to make sure you're prepped, to make sure your players are engaged, to make sure that they understand what's going to happen so that there's no stress for them. Because as a pro GM, you're there to make that experience truly awesome. It's not something that it's just like, hey, well, I'm going to show up, we're going to have a good time, and maybe it'll go well, and I'll have some Cheetos and we'll hang out and I'll see you guys next time. As a GM that is taking money for a service, it is imperative that as the professional, you are prepped out, you're ready to go, you have your notes, you have different sets of adventure ideas that you think the players may enjoy, that you have an idea of what is this character's backstory? What is this person? What do they want out of the session? What does their character want? What does the other character want? And so you're looking at all the incentives and motivations that the individual characters have at the table, and then that can guide one's prep. So tech prep is one thing. You're getting your modules ready, you're getting your maps ready. Those are things that you can prepare. And potentially, it takes a lot more time to prep them, but you could use them over time. That's not what I'm speaking to here. I'm talking about the actual story that you're trying to create. And how much time and energy do you have to put into that? How much energy do you put into prepping? For me, if I ran a 3-hour session, I would put basically 45 minutes to an hour in terms of story and plotting preparation. And what that looks like to me is I would look at the end. I would say, okay, what is the end goal of where we're headed? Where do we need to get to? What do we need to do here at the end? Like, is there going to be some big boss fight? Is there going to be some big reveal? How many encounters are we going to have along the way from wherever we started? So if we started at an inn somewhere, that's how most adventures start. They started at an inn or somewhere in the forest or somewhere along, a caravan route or something like that, something kind of cliche. How many encounters do we have to go through before we get to the end? And so then you start thinking. For me, it's like, okay, well, if we're going to be traveling, maybe we'll have a exploration or role-playing encounter that'll take 15 to 20 minutes, and then maybe there's a combat encounter in that segment, so that's under 20 minutes. Okay, so that section is 40 minutes, and then I would always work my way backwards until we get to the beginning. And then, as a GM, prepping out what you have to do is necessary. And I see lots of GMs come into my world, and they say, like, I'm a great GM. I have this huge world I've built. I've written several modules. I have all of this content that I've created. I can't wait for players to live in my world. And that's great, but the most important thing you have to remember as a GM is they don't care about your world. They care about their character. Players, the 6,000 players we've worked with, they don't care about the world until their character has a reason to care about the world. So one might be able to get them really bought in. If you're just joining us, good to see you. They may really care about your world eventually, but they're not going to care about your world initially because their character has no incentive and no reason to care about your world. So how do you get your players to care about the amazing world that you've built? You use incentives. You connect to their backstory. You look at what the characters are focused on. Well, why does this character exist in terms of the game? Like, are they out for revenge? Did they have some kind of village that they were, it was burned to the ground and now they want to get vengeance upon the soldiers who burned the village? Like, do they have a sibling that they're missing? What is the thing that's driving the character? And then you can find ways to link them in. Oh, okay, they need to revive a character. Or they have a brother that they've lost and they want to revive them from the dead. Maybe they're interested in necromancy. Okay, well, I can use that to tie into the dark magic and pantheon or whatever. You can find ways in character motivation to bring your world to the character. But only then will they care about it, when they have an incentive to do so. I was a classroom teacher for 15 years. And there was always a saying, like, you prep all of this you bring this much to class, and then the students would remember, like this much. And that kind of goes true for any role-playing experience. And I can't even show it here. You'll prep, all of this, you'll use this, and then the players will remember this. But if the thing that they remember is relevant to their character, you've hit a home run and you've done your job as a professional GM. And that is what's really important, is making sure that you're there to deliver for those players. Then in the activity of the session, when you're actually delivering and executing in a professional session, having confidence is so important. This is not a job for the social wallflower or someone who's like, I think I'm becoming more social. Like, you've got to be confident in terms of being able to get in there and demonstrate, lead from the front with improv. Most players are terrified of improv, at least initially, because they don't know what to do. It's weird. We're talking in an elf voice. What the hell's going on? As a GM, if you demonstrate it, the players will feel more comfortable. And if you're a professional, it's your job to demonstrate that thing to players. It is your job to demonstrate how to social role play, how to go into the session and say, okay, well, this is how we do combat. This is how we explore. This is how we social role play. And then a GM who is professional has to demonstrate those things. When you're just with your friends hanging out, you don't have to do that. And that's okay. But when you're taking money for something, you're doing something professionally, it is required that you deliver for your players and lead from the front with those professional leadership-oriented behaviors. Because you are the engine that drives the session. The story's not about you, but you're the energy that can move the session forward. You can put things in the scene. You can pull things back. You can lead from the front and show players, hey, this is how we want it. This is how we social role play. So you're able to put those things out there for players. The other questions I get about role playing in terms of what does it look like in terms of being a professional GM, and what kind of qualities does one have to have if you want to do this as an actual line of work where you're able to start scaling games and you're able to start building player bases and building tables. You've got to put in effort from my point of view. I mean, this didn't fall into my lap when I started doing this. It took so much energy and effort to build just my first table. I had to put out 200 messages just to get 4 people to show up and say yes to a $5 table. And it felt like the greatest victory in the world when I did that. And then the next week, I had more people that said yes. And then the subsequent week, even more people. And up front, it took so much effort, so much work. Because why would they trust me? I'm just some guy that nobody knows, but who's saying, hey, I can make sure you have a great experience. But you're going to have to at least compensate me for my time and energies, but we're going to have a great time. I promise you that. And then you actually have to deliver. So for me, it was about, there's a process to being a pro GM involving recruitment, which you have to be genuine and honest and have integrity and let people know how you can help them. And then you have to deliver and execute. And then you have to follow through on all of the promises you made to them. Like, I can help you. We can do this. It'll be fun. You have to help them. You have to do it, enjoy it, and it needs to be fun. Because if you cannot mesh those two things together as a pro GM, what's going to happen is either you will get no players at your table if you don't know how to recruit and connect with people, or if you fail in execution, the people will show up one week and then they will fade away shortly thereafter because they're going to say, well, this is just a scam. Why am I going to do this? So it's much more challenging because I noticed a lot of people in the role-playing community don't have those two things. They have one or the other, or they think they're good at both, but maybe they're not as good as they think they are. And it's okay to not be good at one or the other, or not even be good at both. What's required to do this professionally is to have a, I call it the excellence mindset. There's this idea of the growth mindset, which I think is overused. I think an excellence mindset is much more important because you want to pursue a goal that you have set for yourself in delivering the best possible, whatever it is, whether it's for me, it's in professional role-playing services, or running a business or being a parent, a husband, whatever those things are. I look at it as having an excellence mindset. I want to be as excellent as I possibly can and hold myself to the highest possible standard to deliver and execute for people and do it in the best possible way. And there are things I have to do. There's things I have to learn. Because it's not about just like, I'm growing and my mind is so open that I will learn everything in the world. Like, I need to learn specific things so I can do a great job. And as a professional GM, there are things you have to learn to do a great job. You have to learn how to prep your sessions. You have to learn how to read players in session. You have to learn how players respond to different experiences. You have to learn about the different cues players will give you about what they're looking for. They'll just flat out tell you, here's what I want to do. Here my character motivations are right here, but you have to be in tune with those. And I've found that for me, when I was more in tune with those things as a GM, players had more fun and we had more success, both in the game and then we also had more success professionally. And I would encourage anybody looking to get into this, anybody looking to do this professionally, to have that excellence mindset. And if someone applies to work for RPG Club, my job is not to give you all of that stuff, to give you all of those skills. you got to come to the table with those skills, at least in terms of I'm confident and willing to put energy out there, willing to put effort in, willing to put the work in. I have determination and I have discipline, and I'm willing to put in those professional excellence pursuit objectives to my daily routine. Because it's not my job to put those out there for people. And I see a lot of GMs come to me and they're like, well, how can you train me to be a professional GM? Like, I can give you a professional opportunity, but you got to have professional skills. Like, this is not the minor leagues. We're not doing tryouts. This is a business and this is a service, and we're doing things for people at a really high level, and we're executing every single time. Because if we don't execute, then players are going to say, what the hell are you doing? So if you want to be a professional GM and you want to come to the table with a big skill set, we get a lot of applications for people who want to work for us and work with our clients and work with our players, letting us know how you're going to take care of players. I don't care all about your world building skills. That's not relevant to players unless in the moment it's connected to their character motivations. I don't care about the world building skills. I don't care about how many systems you've run in terms of, I've run XYZ modules and I have 30 years experience under my belt. How are you going to take care of the players? What do you do when a player is inexperienced at the table? How do you approach them? How do you prepare for a game? How active are you on social in terms of engaging with people on social media and in Discords? Are you willing to put in an extra 1, 2, 3 hours to engage with people and connect with them, go the extra mile to relate to them so that they will trust you? Because if people don't trust you, they're not going to spend time with you. As a professional in this space, why would people want to spend time with me if they don't trust that I want to be genuine and connect with them and actually try to help them with something? Because that's why a lot of people play role-playing games. They have their power avatar that is standing in for them, that's going to go on this experience and have these adventures. And people want the dungeon master to care about what they're doing. And we have to prove as GMs, at least in my experience, I've had to prove that I do care. That I care about what's happening for your character. We're excited we're here. Let's do this together. I care about your backstory. I care about the adventure you want to have because this is fun and it's cathartic and it's positive and it's a good thing for so many people. So if you're interested, it's important to remember those ideas. If you're interested in being professional as a dungeon master and as a game master, I have found it very important to put in the work, to pursue the excellence, to have the idea of being able to socially recruit and engage with people and to deliver and execute on the other side. Because if those two things are not there, it's not going to matter. If you're interested in working with us and you're interested in applying for us, take the link in our bio. Check the link in our bio. We have a GM link to submit your credentials if you're interested. We're not going to take any more in December because we're filled up for now, but we will be taking a few more. I think 2 more GMs in January, maybe 3 more in January. And I really want to hear about, how do you take care of players? How do you help them understand how they can enjoy the session even more? How are you there to support them? How do you read and react to what they're doing? How well do you prepare the encounters? I'm not talking about the world, but the actual plot of what you're doing, and how well can you improvise when players do something different to still make it about them, but also keep the story relevant, because you got to be able to do both as a GM. All right, my name's Adam Scott. I appreciate you being here. Feel welcome to send me a message and drop a comment on this if you have a question. I'd love to support you. I'd love to answer whatever questions you have. And the link to our website is in the bio on my YouTube. And then Instagram, we are at the.rpg.club. That's where we do most of our outreach, and we're still trying to grow here on YouTube. So if you're still here and you like it, please feel welcome to drop a subscription on here. I really appreciate it. Drop a like on the video for the algorithm so someone else can see it. I'm Adam Scott. I'll see you next time.